So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Cederberg and astrophotography. And I went on a little mission with Patrick Richardson, a good friend of mine, and we went to go and look for some amazing night sky conditions after a big rainstorm happened in the Cape. And this also resulted in a lot of water in the Cederberg, which is generally quite an arid region, but we were lucky enough to get some of the water in these rock pools. And I'm going to be sharing some of these pictures you can see now with you during this video. Okay, I'm out in the Cederberg in the Western Cape of South Africa with Patrick Richardson. We are out here in these stunning rock formations looking for some compositions for astrophotography. And this time of year, generally there isn't much rain in the area, but in the last week, they've had excessive amounts of rain, and we thought, let's come and look for some rock pools. So we managed to find some rock pools that are full of water. Come and have a look and see what we found. So this is one of the nicest rock pools that we found, and what we're trying to work out and plan is getting the Milky Way in the sky behind the rock pools with the Milky Way reflecting into the water. So not only did we find a really nice rock pool that's well protected on the side by other rocks from the wind and any breeze, we've actually found a multitude of rock pools. So come on and have a look over here. So this is one of the main pools that we've identified to shoot this evening. We like this pool because of the unique rock formations that go around the edge of it, as well as these nice green colors from the moss and oranges from the natural rock. Also, if we come a little bit higher up, what we can see is that we have other rock pools in the background that we can also get the reflections in. So it gives us starting to add some layers into our composition. Also has a nice rock over here, which hopefully Patrick or myself will stand on with maybe a bit of a light, and we'll get that light reflecting in the rock pools as well. So what we're working on now is building layers to our composition, finding our starting point, which was the reflection in the rock pools. We're adding on some other rock pools, some other formations, a person standing with the light. And this is going to give us quite a bit of depth to our image. So just got back from this amazing trip in the Cederberg. We were only there for one night, but all of the content in this video was captured on that one night. And it just shows you when the conditions are really good and you've done your planning well, you can get a lot of content in a relatively short period of time. So you saw we found those rock pools. I was very excited about them. Luckily that evening the cloud disappeared and there was no wind at all. So we had perfect reflections that evening. So these are 3 images that I captured from that shoot at that location. We also go on to shoot some rock arches, which I'll be sharing a bit later in this video. But for now, we focus on the rock pools. And it was quite difficult to decide whether I wanted just the Milky Way reflecting in the water of the rock pools, or if I wanted a human element just to add a little bit more to the storytelling and actually get the person reflecting in the water. So in the end of the day, I went with both. So yeah, we can see the image of just the Milky Way reflecting in the rock pools. The location was a little bit challenging from the fact that the horizon was pretty solid. There was nothing breaking the horizon. Unfortunately, the way the Milky Way was orientated with the rock pools, it meant that I couldn't have any rocks breaking the horizon. And this is something I may have wanted to do in the future and find some rock pools where there is a rock feature maybe breaking that horizon a little bit more. But as you can see, we've got really nice reflections of the Milky Way into the water with very little ripple or disturbance to the water. Then I added Patrick into the scene. He was holding a flashlight and this is him standing, but we can still see the stars reflecting in the water, but also have him reflecting with the light lighting up the area, telling a little bit more of the story of him exploring in the wilderness area and drawing your attention to that foreground first and then going up into the Milky Way in the sky. And then the third image here, I think, is my favorite image from the set. This is Patrick sitting on the rock we found. If you look back in the video, you'll actually see this rock in the video, and it didn't really stand out to us until it got dark and we could see all the stars reflecting around this one particular rock. But he managed to jump across to it and then sit down and then get a perfect reflection. The water was absolutely still, of him reflecting in the rock pool, and you can see all these details and everything reflecting, with the Milky Way just sitting absolutely perfectly just above him. So I really like this image and the story it conveys of him sitting there on the rock. Your eye goes to him first, got this beautiful reflection, and then going up to clear skies above him. Is that a path there? Busy walking now to one of my favorite compositions in the Cederberg, and that's this little rock arch that's coming out in front of us. So what's nice about this rock arch is we can shoot it from both directions. So we're just going to scout now, use photo pulls and see and plan which direction the Milky Way is coming from. So very important for these type of trips. Get there in the daytime. Go walk around, plan the compositions that you want to shoot, plan what time of the night you need to be there for that shot, and then based on that, you plan out your whole night with all your compositions. So this is literally one of my favorite arches in the Cederberg area, and you're going to see now exactly why from this direction and this angle. So you just come around to this side and we look back onto this arch. Look at these colors and striations on this arch. We have these beautiful black lines with oranges, almost like tiger stripes that we're going to be shooting. So very nice terms in color, nice arch in terms of a nice hole that's quite smooth with some rocks underneath. And for this composition, what we're going to plan to do is have Patrick up on the top with a headlamp or a lantern shining out into the distance like he's an epic explorer, and hopefully picking up a bit of that light painting onto these beautiful color striations. On top of the arch, so this is the one arch we're going to be shooting this evening. We're going to be standing on my left a little bit, or somewhere along the top depending on where the Milky Way is, and this is one of the compositions we're going to do. So adding a person in with the light on top of this arch with the rock formations and the colorations will just add also an extra element to the photo. After shooting the rock pools, we went to one of my favorite arches in the Cederberg. It's not the biggest arch, it's quite a small arch, but it has really nice texture and colorations. Also faces in the right direction to shoot it from both sides. Had about an hour at this arch to make something happen for the night before we moved on to another even bigger arch and some other rock formations in the Cederberg. So I timed my evening quite strictly. We had a certain amount of time at each location and we moved between them. And what I love about this rock arch, other than the textures and the detail, was you can actually stand on top of it if you want to. And I've done this in previous visits to this area where I've stood on the top of the arch with my lanterns shining up, and it makes a really nice striking pose and a really nice composition of this area. However, for this one, I did something slightly different just because of the way the Milky Way was orientated at quite a diagonal across the sky. We tried standing on top and it just didn't feel right compositionally. So we also couldn't light up the textures in the way we wanted so you could see all that detail in the foreground. So what we did was actually sat down under the arch, and this is why it's important to have an idea of what you want to do and plan it, but when you're there on location in the dark, you know, be adaptable and be able to change to the different conditions to get a better photo if it presents itself. So I sat down underneath the arch and with the lantern, and this lit up all that detail in the top of the arch those black stripes and orange stripes, and gave a lot more detail in the foreground. I think balanced the Milky Way in the sky really nicely. Okay, so a large part of what we're doing in the Cederberg now is we're also looking for new compositions. This is a pretty cool little cave we found, but we're just exploring the area, looking in all the rocks for new arches, new caves and that. A lot of this area hasn't been explored for photography, and it's pretty cool to go shoot a place that's never been shot before. A lot of these caves, Patrick's convinced, Blair Witch Project, something's living inside here. This is a pretty deep one. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a porcupine or something that made this their burrow. Pretty deep one going in. At the very least, some rock dusties or something. So one of the things I love about the Cederberg is it's a largely unexplored region in terms of photography. So I love going on a hike when I'm there, going looking for new rock formations, looking for new arches, looking for new caves, anything that will be really great for landscapes as well as astrophotography. And this allows me to get really unique compositions that have never been seen before. So the composition I'm sharing with you now is quite a simple composition. It's just a rock, not an arch, just some rock formations showing the red color of the Cederberg and those oranges in the rocks, as well as some of the really nice fynbos around the area. So very simple composition. I like how the Milky Way sits quite horizontally across the sky. And I just like that contrast of the cooler tones in the sky versus the warmer orange tones in the Cederberg rocks. So great place to go and explore, to find new compositions for this type of photography. Okay, cool. So this is the second arch we're going to be shooting, a much bigger arch, very different to the first arch and in a different direction. So we're busy planning our compositions for the evening. The other arch we're going to shoot as the Milky Way starts to rise up. This arch we're going to shoot as the Milky Way is starting to sit down. So we're going to shoot the Milky Way above the top of the arch pillar. We're going to get all these colors and rock striations. And then if you come and look over here, what I'm quite excited about is potentially getting some star reflections in these puddles at the top here, which aren't normally here because of the unpredicted rainfall that they've had. So we've got these beautiful water pools that I'm hoping the wide angle we can get some stars reflecting. Otherwise, we're going to focus on getting this beautiful rock arch, all these colors, all these textures, and then the Milky Way sitting beautifully above it. So this image was taken at the second arch I went to go and capture that evening. It's a much bigger arch, also has really nice rock formations and textures to it. It's a little bit more circular in formation instead of longer like the other arch, but it is taller, harder to get on top, but it is possible. And unfortunately, I saw those little rock pools I was quite excited about, but in reality in the evening when I tried to get the stars reflecting in it, it just didn't work out. The rock pool were a little bit too under the arch. If they were a little bit further back, I think it would have worked, and I really liked the idea of it. However, the putting it into practice just didn't work for this image. So instead, I just lit the side of the arch just to show you all that texture and those colors in the rocks. And then I have the Milky Way sitting above the archway. And on your left, my left, you'll see there's a shooting star or a meteor that came across the sky. A really bright one. It almost lit up the sky. Very nice to see. And I was lucky enough to get that in one of the frames, and you can see it now in the final image. So that's always something special when you're able to get a rare moment like that on camera as well. So this is also a nice arch. There's a lot of potential. And we actually go to this area on one of my astrophotography workshops. So if you're ever in South Africa and you want to join me at these locations that I'm sharing, just drop me a message and come and join me on one of my astrophotography workshops out here in the Cederberg. This is one of the locations that we go and shoot. So all these images that I shared with you now were all captured in one evening. We shot from about 8 p.m. till about 1, 2 in the morning, and had a few hours of sleep before we left the next day out of the Cederberg. I would have liked to spend more time here, but unfortunately time only allowed me for the one night. But you can see I managed to get all these images that I've shared with you, plus a bunch of others that I haven't edited yet, all in one evening, just because of good planning and picking the right weather and the right location to go and shoot. So very important. And I think as you start to shoot astrophotography yourself more and more, you'll start to plan a bit more and get more images out of one shoot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks guys. Cheers.